Hi, I'm Travis here for ComicsVerse at New York Comic Con 2015, talking with Matt Hawkins and Isaac Goodhart, the writer and illustrator of Image's Postal. Now, Postal is quite an accomplishment, and you're tackling some very serious issues in terms of having one of the main characters be a person who has Asperger's syndrome. Could you tell me about some of the challenges of working on a book with a main character who is afflicted with such a disorder?
I think that the key challenge to that is to try to reflect it authentically. Part of the reason I made Mark Asperger's because one of my college roommates had Asperger's. I was in the science field, and there's a lot of people in science on the spectrum, and I think a lot of these guys get the short shrift treatment, and a lot of these guys are genius level guys. There's a lot of things we wouldn't have today, like computers and stuff like that, without things like Asperger's. So these guys do terrific research, and we really want to. It's one of the reasons why I brought Brian Hill on as my co-writer. I'm more in the science field. He's really obsessed with psychology and human behavior, and so kind of that merge was one of the reasons why I wanted him to work with me on the writing, so that it would come across authentically.
And how do you find how do you tackle the challenges of portraying this visually?
Well, the way I approach it is I draw Mark as somebody who's always thinking, who's always several steps ahead of everybody because he's looking at every possible outcome, every type of reaction, and trying to process the world the way he can. So it's mostly, for me, it's mostly about how drawing the other cast and how they're reacting to Mark. So that's how I go about it. That's the way I think is the best way to communicate all those things on the comic page.
So could you describe for us a little bit of your collaborative process?
Well, on Postal, I wrote early on a long outline and character descriptions and a lot of that, and then Brian Hill came in and actually broke down the individual issues and sends that to Isaac, and Isaac does layouts, then he goes to pencils and inks his own work, and then Betsy Gonya colors it. We throw the lettering on, and it goes to the printer.
So what's your favorite part of this process?
Getting the script on the first day. I don't know what's going to happen a lot of the time, so I'll get the script. I'm just a fan of the writing. I'm a fan of the characters and the story. So I'll just go, I'll get the email. It'll be the final draft. I'll go to Starbucks. I'll just sit there for an hour and read through it about 3 times. I'll start thinking about the references, how I'm going to get how I'm going to approach the page, what the characters are going to look like. The brainstorming part, the first stage, the first level of the book, that's the most exciting because that's the most creative. Once you start getting down and making sure that all the faces look symmetrical and everybody looks right and anatomically correct, that stuff can get pretty tricky. The first part is when everything is going a million miles an hour. That's the best part for me.
Yeah, it sounds very exciting.
Yeah.
Now, tackling social issues like Asperger's and the way that people with that are treated is nothing new for you. I know that you're also working on a series right now which tackles the whole idea of a world without racism, or a world where the races are completely separated. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, that's December's Symmetry book that I'm working on with Raphael Ianco. And the idea of that is I've kind of gotten tired of all the YA dystopian fiction out there. And so I wanted to do the corollary. I wanted to do the opposite. I wanted to do a utopian story. And I've never seen a utopian story that actually captured my interest. So I really went into detail to try to figure out, if you're going to create a world with no violence, no aggression, how would you do that? And I realized you'd have to completely eliminate diversity, you'd have to eliminate ambition, and you'd have to eliminate creativity. And once you eliminate those 3 things, I think it would be possible to create a world without violence. And that might sound like a shitty world to live in, and it probably would be. But we sort of set the stage. And the idea in Symmetry is there are 4 distinct racial subgroups. And there's the white people, the Latinos, the blacks, and the Asians, and they're completely separated, and they are completely unaware of each other because the societies are separated until they're age 50. At age 50, they're sort of brought into the elder group and said, hey, there's some things you should know. This is why. Thousands of years ago, there were all these wars, and their rationale, when you get to it in the story, is a little, you're going to read it and realize it's kind of bullshit. Do you know what I mean? So, there's always this idea. I love this kind of stuff. My wife is Asian. My kids are half Asian. I realize that in this world I've created, I wouldn't exist. My family wouldn't exist. My children wouldn't be. And that kind of is one of those things where when I write something and I get a little emotional about it, I know I'm doing something right. Because that passion and that stuff carries through into the stories and into the characters. But Symmetry really is about a kind of a bland world where robots do everything, and people are just pleasure seekers and sort of rolling through their lives. And EMP hits, and which causes a distinct subset between the two white groups, and which causes conflict and creates a conflict in this new world. Of course, you got to have a conflict. And our lead character, Michael, the story's told from his point of view, is the one who is in this subset group, and sort of we tell the story of this giant world through his eyes.
It sounds really, really cool. Now, Isaac, as getting back to Postal, could you tell us a little bit about what your favorite memory of working on Postal is so far?
My favorite memory of working on Postal is being able to leave my last job and do comics full time. I mean, come on, this is the dream. I got to do this. I get to do it every month. It's been doing really well, so I'm extremely, extremely lucky to be last year in obscurity, this year working on a book that's doing very well. And so that's gonna be my memory forever for the rest of whatever my comics career is. This book bringing me to this level is perfect. Look, I saw this poster. I saw this the first time at Long Beach Comic Con. That was my first signing behind the table ever. And so this kind of stuff, this is all new to me. This is my first New York Comic Con. So I'm just going from one forever memory to another.
And you really are living the dream.
Yep.
Now, Matt, is there anything that you can tease for our viewers about what we might be seeing coming up in Postal?
Oh yeah, I mean the third arc of Postal, we start to explain a little more how the city works and why it exists and how it's allowed to exist, and how the FBI is sort of involved in it. And there becomes we've created two really strong threats to the city on the inside, one from the outside, an external threat and an internal threat. And we've introduced a new character at the end of 8 that I think, or was it the end of 7? End of 8 comes in, and she is the daughter of one of the FBI agents that sort of helps keep the town off the grid, and an older FBI guy, sort of a Hoover guy, you know. So it's a lot of fun. I think I do a lot of the thinking about the kind of the macro level of what's going on, and Brian Hill is actually the guy that does all the great character stuff that's so fun and fascinating, and I love working with these guys. And actually on the third arc, I'm not taking a writing credit any further. Brian's going to be sole writing credit. I'm still doing work on it, and I'm editing with him, and I'll be sort of helping steer the ship. But Brian deservedly will get sole writing credit on the third arc.
Cool. Now, Isaac, I know you said that you don't really get to find out what's going on until you get the scripts. Is there anything that you hope to see in the future of Postal?
Well, Brian told me about the upcoming arc at San Diego Comic Con. So what I'm hoping is that there's a lot more action scenes. You guys are starting to throw me some action scenes. 7, there's a huge brutal action scene. So more of that stuff, more violent, more craziness, more fun things to draw like that.
All right, well, let's stay tuned and make sure you pick up the copies of Postal that are hitting the stores. Again, I'm Travis here at New York Comic Con 2015. You're watching ComicsVerse, and this is Matt Hawkins and Isaac Goodhart from Postal. Make sure you check us out on Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter, Google, and YouTube, and you can always find us at comicsverse.com. Thanks a lot, and have a great day.